A lot of us have slides that look like this, where it's all text. And a lot of us are also really short on time, and the thought of having to search for visuals is just not appealing at all. So do you want some quick tips on how to still make text-based slides more engaging? And then how about a bonus makeover, where I still take those slides and add visuals? Then stay tuned, because this video is part of my Slide Makeover series, and this one is a double makeover edition. These slides were submitted by one of our viewers, David Dreyfus. Thanks for letting me play around with these slides, David. You're great. The first thing we're going to do is diagnose the elements that can be improved. Here is David's original slide, and I want to start out with what he did well. First, notice that you only see the first bullet point. That's because David set up a basic appear animation for each point. Thank you, David. Folks, if you're going to have a lot of text on your slides, then the least you can do is set it up so that each bullet point only comes up while you're talking about it. The second thing I noticed was that David tried to minimize or de-emphasize the citations by using a smaller font size for them. And that matters, because if he used the same font size for the citations, look at how the slide looks now. So that was a neat little design trick. So good job on those two things, David. Now let's talk about what can be improved. Well, the first thing is the amount of text. There's too much of it. I counted, and it's 81 words, which on my BATS scale is a score of 0 for, oh my God, please end my suffering. Sorry, David. Because there is so much text, David also had to do something else to the slide that I wanted to point out. He had to use a small font size. It's a size 28 for most of the text. The absolute minimum should be a 30, and even then, that's usually only big enough for a webinar where people are all up on their screen. The other thing I want to talk about is some clutter that's on the slide, like these citations. A lot of people add citations to their slides, and I used to do it too, I get it. But that's a habit I strongly encourage everyone to break. Your slides should never have content that you aren't verbally saying to your audience, and that includes citations. And besides, they're actually a size 18. No one can read that anyway. Just give them the citations in a handout. That should do the trick. Finally, there are two other types of clutter on these slides. Do you see them? Well, it's the dark gray line and the Rutgers logo. Now, Rutgers is a great university, don't get me wrong, but people do not need to see that name on every single slide. They will remember where you're from, and you can remind them on the end slide in case you're worried about it. But right now, it's taking away from your core message. And that line is only there to separate or call attention to that logo. So I'll be removing both of those. Okay, now it's time for the makeover. Here's the original one more time. The first thing I could do, which takes only about a minute, is to get rid of the citations, get rid of the bullet points, and remove even more text from the slide. Now I would keep the animations, so still do that even though I sped this up and didn't show you all of them. I've also used alternating colors, so the separation between each point is clear and I don't need the bullet points anymore. Do you see how much cleaner and lighter we've already made the slide? But of course, we can take this one step further without having to even search for visuals. The trick is to break up each point into multiple slides. So here's that first point. This is the same amount of text, but I've made it huge and I did a few design tweaks so it looks more eye-catching. Now I can bring in the second point, that disruptions in healthcare contribute to waste. Now I have removed the phrase contribute to the waste from the slide because the arrow said that for me. So do you see what I'm doing? Instead of just a list of bullets, I'm trying to show and not just tell the audience how they're connected. So that's the first two bullet points. It's still text, it's just bigger and on a clean slide with some design tweaks and good use of animations. Let's move on to that third bullet point, that disruptions are the third leading cause of death and medical errors. Yikes, by the way, I had no idea about that. But I've basically just copied and pasted the format from before and changed the wording. Again, this is the same amount of text that David used on his original slide, but it doesn't feel that way, right? Now, in David's notes, he had a comment about how operating rooms can provide a good starting point to explore these areas. So I just turned that into a quick transition slide. And that icon, that's straight from PowerPoint. I didn't have to go looking for it, and it was free. And now I've created a slide for David's last bullet point, which is about how operating rooms are the highest revenue generator and the highest hospital expense. Again, this includes basically the same number of words from the original bullet point, and these icons are just from PowerPoint. So think about this. If you were in the audience, which would you rather see? These 4 slides I just showed you, or this type of slide? And again, all I did was break up the slide, I used some design strategies and animations, and it's almost the exact same amount of text, with the citations and extra clutter removed. But because visuals are magic, I'm going to show you how to go one step further by using some photos. So we're back to talking about waste. I chose this great visual of a lonely garbage can on a misty road. We all instantly get that a garbage can means things you throw away. So conceptually, it works really well with this content. And then disruptions in healthcare is now at the top, pointing down. Now we need to talk about how disruptions lead to death and medical errors. So I chose this great visual. Who am I kidding? This is a terrible visual. It's super weird. Don't use visuals like that. But I will admit, it was hard finding a visual for this topic. Clearly, I wasn't going to show someone who was dead, and I didn't want to show an image of a funeral because that would just make everyone really sad and probably start thinking about the last funeral they attended. So that wasn't good. So I eventually settled on this image. It still represents a form of death, but in a way that shouldn't have a negative impact on your audience. And finally, I was pleasantly surprised that there were some great photos of an operating room. So it was a perfect fit for this slide about operating rooms. So those are the makeovers. Now let's compare the before and after. We started with lots of text and 4 big points on one slide. And I redesigned that into 4 slides with almost the same amount of text, but just designed differently with some free icons and some animations. And then I tried it using visuals. So what do you think of these makeovers? I actually like them both, even the one that is still mostly text. As much as I love visuals, I don't use them in every single slide. And this is a really important topic. Hopefully, engaging slides like this will help David's audience pay attention to, understand, and use this information to reduce medical deaths and errors. So I hope this shows you that even if you don't want to look for visuals, even if you only have a few minutes, you can actually take a slide full of bullet points and text and make them more engaging for your audience. I hope you enjoyed this makeover and learned some new design ideas. If you're interested, there is a free download available to you. It includes direct links to the photos that I used in this makeover. Yes, even that weird one if for some reason you loved it. Plus, it has a list of information design strategies I used. Now I want to hear from you. What changes would you have made to these slides? Leave a comment below. And thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, share it on your networks, and make sure to connect with me on Twitter. I'll see you the next time. Bye!